This planet is now property of the Sontaran Empire. Surrender your women and intellectuals.
Welcome to the Tin Dog Podcast discussing, well, it's about time, isn't it? The Name of the Doctor. The last episode of, well, let's call it Series 7B. Let's fit in with everyone else. The Series 7 box set should be with us very shortly, unless you ordered it on Blu-ray in America, and then you should have had it some time ago. To be honest, only 210 advanced copies were sent out, and you know what? I can probably let them off. Mistakes are easily made. I'll cover Moffat's response in the next podcast, because right now we've got a proper episode of Doctor Who to discuss. The real question is the Name of the Doctor more than the sum of its parts? Or are the parts so increasingly sumful as to be just, well, damn fine? Now, because I'd become aware that some people out there had seen the episode, I kind of cut myself off from the internet. I saw the he sheds, she shed, she shells on the seashore, pressing the red button type thing, but basically that didn't do much. Two narratives set inside the minds of the two major protagonists, chatting away, giving us information we already knew. In many respects, it was actually a in case you've missed any episodes kind of a thing. But let's face it, we haven't really missed that many episodes. From the opening moment, I did the kind of leaping into the air for joy that I'd come to expect. And yes, the problem is I've come to expect it. Now, last year at Hooverville, we had the microphone passed from person to person, and they asked us what we'd like to see for the 50th anniversary. The mic was passed to me, and the recording does exist, and I had two specific things. And I repeated these things in a podcast later on with my thoughts for the 50th anniversary. The first story was that I'd like some sort of trouble with tribbles Doctor Who thing, but as I pointed out at the time, you can't really do that because of the degraded quality of original Doctor Who. Today I was proven wrong, or in some respects proven right. My other idea, well, we'll come to that one when we talk about John Hurt later on. You see, I'm just jumping ahead to the main things that we all want to talk about. The very beginning of the episode, where you get to see Clara and all the umpteen doctors, all in nice video put together footage. It's the trouble with tribbles again. Yes, they've degraded the Clara footage and they've done as much as they can. People have complained about the second Doctor footage, you know, the stuff from the 5 Doctors. But that's the very same scene with the 8th Doctor in it walking past. So in many respects there could be an unmade, unwritten story with the 8th and 2nd Doctor, because she appears to be in the same location for both Doctors. Now that's a book I'm more than willing to hang on to read. The 8th Doctor is in this for less than a second, walking past the camera, but it's well worth having a look. It took me some tracking down, and I had to ask the help of various other podcasters out there, and was rather nicely sent a GIF by both the Minute Doctor Who podcast and James from the Doctor Who podcast. So yes, all of the Doctors present and correct. It was nice to see the Clara character at the beginning, although we had no idea what was really going on. Apparently helping out, and yes, having the whole Dragonfire sequence where the Doctor was literally involved in a cliffhanger. But like I said, these things are not that important. So you've got a fantastic beginning. The Doctor stealing the TARDIS being a cylinder, and other fan-pleasing moments like the mention of the Valiard. It's a shame they didn't say one of the names was Merlin, but let's not confuse one BBC thing with another. Moments like the universe basically blinking out of existence, kind of defeating the whole purpose of the Great Intelligence, because if the Great Intelligence removes the Doctor, like a gigantic galactic universal game of Kaplunk, you lose all the marbles. The Doctor was responsible for the creation of the universe at least twice. You see, I'm all over the place. I do have to say that Strax as an actual Sontaran works. Now yes, the literal flaw when the gravity gets turned off, fair enough. It's not exactly the fall of the Doctor, despite the fact that it is the fall of the Doctor. But my issue with the whole thing, if I've got one, is more to do with, well, I don't even want to call it the buffification of Doctor Who. I've discussed this in the past. There are various things, ideas, concepts, and I'm not even ever going to use the word meme on this podcast, that Joss Whedon brought to television. Things that existed elsewhere, he laid down and used. Oh, you see, I'm so all over the place. There's so much I need to talk about. I need to talk about River Song, about me watching the episode and then realising what River Song was wearing and going, that's what she wore in the library. This is the River Song from the Data Core. This is the River Song after she's died. But the important thing, and something that occurred to me only today, is that River Song is not the woman who gave Clara the phone number to contact the Doctor. All of the fans have assumed that when Clara would eventually meet River Song, she'd go, yes, of course, you're the person who gave me the phone number to phone the Doctor. But she doesn't recognise River Song at all. So either that's going to be just fluffed over at some point like the exploding TARDIS, or, well, more importantly, the person to give the number was someone else. It wasn't Jenny because she's recognised her. It wasn't herself. It must be someone else. It's unlikely to have been an elderly pond working in a call centre. But that's just another thread to be plucked at from this. There are so many things going on. Oh, and when Jenny died, I was blown away. And then, of course, you bring them back. It's the whole Tara and Willow thing, but we don't like to go there. I'm so impressed. Because I actually really, really like Jenny. She's such a great character, nicely understated, and never overplays, despite the fact being surrounded by everyone in latex. Such a wonderful moment. Oh, and you know when Hartnell is distracted by Clara and told to steal the other TARDIS with Susan, where she says, don't steal that one, steal this one. Very nice, very impressive. But one thing worth commenting on is that doesn't that mess up the Doctor's wife? Because the TARDIS convinced the Doctor to steal her. And if Clara turns up saying steal this one instead, doesn't that just confuse matters? Or was the first Doctor always intent on stealing that one anyway, and got distracted once he walked into the garage? Like the guy who's always wanted a Volkswagen Beetle, walks into a room and sees a Porsche, thinks I'll steal the Porsche, and then Clara turns up and says, no, the Volkswagen Beetle, take that, it's the one you've always wanted. Is it like that? Or like every other fan on Earth? Am I just reading far, far too much into this? I've got a sheet of notes somewhere. You know, we were truly never ever going to find out his name. But that's fine. Superb, superb moments, and I cannot go on about this at all without mentioning, well, Alien Bodies. A BBC book, not even a Virgin novelisation, dealing with what happens to the Doctor's body when he dies. A sort of intergalactic conference of aliens as turns up, and the Eighth Doctor, in order to find out what will be done with the Doctor's body. A physical body, but as he says in this story, bodies are boring. This is the scar tissue of reality. That's what's left when he dies. Perhaps the Doctor really does retire, and all he leaves here is the scar tissue. Is this a fixed moment in time? Or is the lake the fixed moment? Does history have the Doctor down as dying at least twice? I suppose it would. I enjoyed Alien Bodies, it was one of my favourite books, but it's not this. So Strax, as always, gives a fantastic performance. You see, I've rambled far too much on this one, and yet I still haven't even mentioned Richard E. Grant. Now I know there are arguments that he could have been practically any alien monster. Well, you know what? I'm not quite sure that that's true. The great intelligence was information. But he ends up being well, the creator of his own demise. Because if he hadn't have tried to destroy him, Clara wouldn't have ended up travelling back in time and ended up, like Austin Powers says, he's gone cross-eyed. So in many respects, I can see the point. I can also see that Richard E. Grant isn't really needed. However, before I go, I do need to talk about the enormous Doctor-shaped elephant in the room, or the elephant man-shaped elephant in the room. Does that make sense? It's time for pointless speculation. Right. On the 23rd of November this year, I'm sure we'll find out exactly who that person is. Either that, or John Hurt becomes the big bad of Series 8. That would be Series 8, that's just been given the complete go-ahead by the BBC, and will probably have Matt Smith in it. Now, you knew John Hurt was going to be in the November special. It had been announced in Doctor Who magazine and it had been on the internet. You knew that he was playing someone called the Old Doctor. Now that's perfectly acceptable. You let it go. Everyone and his grandmother knew that the end sequence of this new Doctor Who was missing from all of the preview copies. Again, the only people who'd seen it were perhaps, let's say, there was 210 Americans. So, who is John Hurt playing the Old Doctor? Now, as far as I'm concerned, the Old Doctor, well, let's listen to what's said in the actual programme, shall we?
Who's that?
Never mind. Let's get back.
But who is he?
It's me. There's only me here, that's the point. Now let's get back.
But I never saw that one. I saw all of you. 11 faces, all of them you. You're the 11th Doctor.
I said he was me. I never said he was the Doctor.
Oh, I don't understand.
Look, my name, my real name. That is not the point. The name I chose is the Doctor. The name you choose, it's like a promise you make. He's the one who broke the promise. Clara! He is my secret.
What I did without choice.
I know.
In the name of peace and sanity.
But not in the name of the Doctor.
The name you choose is like a promise you make. Well, fair enough. Now, my feeling is that this John Hurt person is the pre-Hartnell incarnation. Of course, that bumps everyone up and turns him to Valiard as the next incarnation, but let's not go there. Most of us expected, well, let's be honest here, David Tennant to turn up in the TARDIS and the very land, and that was going to be the big surprise. But no, having John Hurt turn up in this, just to confuse matters. So like I said, it's split into two ideas. Is he a pre-First Doctor, a person who did something so terrible that he ended up becoming the Doctor in order to atone for this sin? Now, if you want an example of that, I suggest you go away and listen to the Big Finish story Master. I won't spoil it any more than that, but it is incredibly moving and incredibly important. That's if you want to go down that road. The road everyone else seems to be going down is, well, the Doctor has a big secret, something was done, not in his name, but it was still done because it was necessary. That fits with the Time War, the destruction of Gallifrey, except that's all old ground, it's all been retread, it's all been done. No, I think this is something else, something, I don't want to say darker, but it could be. And perhaps the existence of the Doctor is owed to this. It's his atonement. But like I said, it's all pointless speculation, and just not important, because we'll find out in a few months' time. So yes, perhaps this was thin on the ground storyline-wise, but it won't stop us watching it again and again, and working out which episodes all the clips came from. So yes, anything that never made sense had Clara behind it. Now that is great. Moffat is now written for every single Doctor going, and that goes into the Book of Lists, I think. Remember, Whoology is not Whostrology. Be seeing you. You've been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its connected properties are copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. To contact the show, email tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. Whostrology, a Time Traveller's Almanac, is available through Telos Publishing or Amazon. Visit www.whostrology.com for further information. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.